Hey everybody, I'm Adrian Bustamante and welcome to Food Deconstructed, where every week we take a common dish and deconstruct its ingredients and reconstruct them, making some fun, new, and exciting recipes. This week, because it's that time of the year, we'll be deconstructing some holiday favorites. Before we begin, I wanted to make a special shout out to a very big fan of ours who I hear loves the show and is kind of a young cook himself. Jared, hi, thank you for watching and thank you for supporting the show, and I hope you have a great holiday season. Our first recipe today is taking a holiday favorite of stuffing. It's definitely one of my favorite dishes when it comes to Thanksgiving or even Christmas. And the ingredients of this dish are fairly common to your normal run-of-the-mill stuffing with maybe a little bit of a twist. But we have things like carrots, onions, celery, some bread, some sausage, as well as some garlic, some ginger, and some sage. And really the only twist that we're really making on this is that we're turning this into a soup. And then we're going to be using a little bit of sour cream as well along with this sausage, but you'll see how that comes together a little bit later. So the first thing we're going to do is get our pot nice and hot and start by throwing a little bit of butter in it. So about a half a stick of butter. And then while that's kind of mixing around and coating the bottom of the pan, because we'll be using that instead of throwing some olive oil in the base, what we're going to do from there is let that heat up, and then we're going to take our onions and our carrots and our celery and throw it in at one time. So while that's heating up, I'm just going to cut up my celery here. I have about 4 stalks here that I've cut the ends off, and I'm just going to take some pieces. The biggest portion that's going to be coming from is going to be our carrots. So we're going to throw this in here. Got about 1 small white onion. Like I said, about 4 smaller stalks of celery, and about 3 cups of carrots. 3 cups of carrots is roughly about 7 carrots, depending on the size, but about 7 medium carrots is what you're getting. So I'm just going to mix these up, make sure the butter coats them. I think our carrots are soft enough, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my garlic, my ginger, and my sage. We're just going to put them in here just before the chicken stock, just so they kind of cook into these ingredients a little bit more, as well as our lemon juice. Mix them up. You don't need much time in there, just a little time so you kind of smell that ginger and sage come up and let it kind of get into these carrots and onions and celery. So let those cook. I'm going to take about 4 cups of chicken stock and place this in here in a minute. Now, a good little twist you can do in here is if for some reason somebody in your family or maybe even yourself want to make this a vegetarian meal, you can turn this chicken stock into some vegetable stock and of course not use the sausage, but I'm a big fan of meat. My family's a big fan of meat, so we're going to stick with the non-vegetarian style. All right, this goes in here. Mix this up a little bit. Now we're using low sodium chicken stock just to make sure that I have control over the amount of sodium that I can put into this dish so it doesn't automatically start up really salty. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in. Now I'm going to let this come together for just a little bit longer, and then I'm going to take my bread. I'm going to kind of break it up into pieces right now, and I'm going to throw this in here and blend it together. Now what the bread's going to do is actually going to thicken up my soup a little bit for me. Now you can use things like cornstarch or flour to obviously thicken your soup, but we're going to use the bread just to obviously as a deconstruction of the stuffing, and just to give it a little twist too. I would still want some chunks to be in there, so I'm not going to break it down too small. Leave that there. Good. All right. Now I'm going to let the bread kind of soak up some of this chicken stock so it's easier to blend. Now the great thing about making soups for the holidays is you can make them ahead of time, and you don't necessarily have to freeze them at that point, but you can if you want. You can make them ahead of time, take them to whoever's house you're going to, or just have it on hand so it's one less thing you have to make the day of. And you can also, like I said, freeze it for a longer period of time as well if you just want to make it that far ahead of time, or if you make a lot and you just want to save it for later. So good. Now I'm going to use a stick blender. I again love stick blenders because it's just less mess, less transfer. Get it inside, start it off low so I'm not making too big of a mess, and then I'll increase the speed as we go. God bless you. All right, that's blended up enough. Put a little more salt in here. This smells so good. It smells like stuffing has just been sitting in this pot for a while. Now, that's pretty much done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it off the burner because we've got one last piece of the puzzle to take care of. Now, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna do a quick little cooking of my sausage along with some of this sour cream. A little olive oil on the bottom, a little bit of salt, and come on, sausage. Now I'm gonna let this cook just a little bit, and then I'm gonna throw my sour cream in here and let it come and mix together, and it'll be like a sour cream infused with sausage. Now, if you don't like sour cream, or you have anybody that has some kind of aversion to it, you can use other creamy things like yogurt, avocado, or really soft tofu, things like that, but sour cream I think is gonna be the best complement to our soup here. And one thing also is this is just a garnish, so if for some reason you just don't like this idea at all, you can definitely exclude it from the recipe altogether. All right, good there. Use that much and see how it works. If I need to throw a little bit more in there, I will. You'll see the sour cream just really liquefy, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, because you'll notice when I do put it over the top of the soup, it'll just kind of drizzle through the top and just give that soup a little bit extra of a kick in flavor. All right, my sausage and sour cream is done. Now, we actually made some homemade croutons that we're gonna place on top as well, just to add a little extra texture and of course a little bit of an ingredient of the stuffing. But you can definitely do this at home. All we did was just cut up a loaf of bread, throw some olive oil over it, and throw it in the oven for roughly 10, maybe 15 minutes at about 300, 350 degrees. Really simple, you can do at home. You can buy them, at the grocery store yourself, but usually I have some extra bread laying around during the holiday season, so why not make your own? All right, this soup is just a very nice orange color from the carrots. Little hints of specks of pepper and some of the sage still in there from earlier. All right, well, take this. Go. Like I said before, you want your plate to look as good as you can, because if your food looks good, it's going to taste that much better. And I'm going to take a little bit more sage that we have sitting off the top here and just put it over the top for a little garnish. All right, I think we're done. Now it's time to taste it. Try and get a little sausage along with my soup. That's really good. The only way I can really equate it is it's a liquefied stuffing. They're not in a bad sense. It's really, really good. You have all those flavors from stuffing in a bowl. You have just that warm soup that you like on that cold, holiday or winter time. It's great. You got great flavor from the sage, the ginger, the garlic, and then obviously the sausage just gives it that little extra meaty texture in there as well. This is really, really good. I'm very happy with this recipe, and it just definitely reminds me of the holidays. So stay tuned, because coming up next is cranberry hand pies.